After 15 years with TechVantage, Marjorie Taylor looked at me with a faint smile that didn't reach her eyes. Samantha, after 15 years with TechVantage, we're restructuring your position, she announced, her voice carrying a barely concealed note of satisfaction. She sat across from me in a small conference room, flanked by Denise Carter from HR. Both wore carefully crafted expressions of corporate regret. The company is moving in a new direction, Denise added, sliding a manila folder across the table. Your contributions have been valuable, but we're consolidating the research division under the product development team. I nodded thoughtfully and accepted the folder without opening it. I already knew what was inside: the standard severance package, 2 weeks pay for every year of service, continued health coverage for 3 months, and a list of career counseling resources I would never use. I completely understand, I replied, keeping my voice steady. These decisions were never easy. Relief flashed across their faces. They had expected tears, protests, or anger. After all, I was a 53-year-old woman being pushed out of an industry where youth was valued above experience. But what they didn't know was that I had seen this coming for weeks, ever since a misdirected email thread had landed in my inbox last month. We'd like you to clean out your desk by Friday, Marjorie continued, gaining confidence from my calm response. We'll need your keycard, company laptop, and phone before you leave. Your team will be notified this afternoon. My team, 6 brilliant engineers I had personally recruited and mentored, the same team that had helped me develop the distributed processing algorithm now powering TechVantage's flagship product, AccuSphere, accounting software used by over 40% of Fortune 500 companies. Of course, I said, rising from my chair. Is there anything else? They exchanged glances, clearly thrown by my composure. Marjorie recovered first. That's all for now. Thank you for making this professional. As I walked back to my office, I passed the glass-walled conference room where the executive team was meeting. Through the transparent barrier, I spotted Marcus Reynolds, the CEO, gesturing animatedly at a PowerPoint presentation titled Q3 Revenue Projections. Marcus Reynolds, the same man who had taken credit for my algorithm at last year's industry conference, referring to me only as one of our research team members. I closed my office door behind me and pulled out my personal phone. I typed a single text message. It's happening. Friday is my last day. The response came almost instantly. Perfect timing. Contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize details. I smiled, glancing at the calendar on my desk. Today was Wednesday. Friday would be my last day at TechVantage. And Monday would be fascinating. That evening, I met Jonathan Pierce at Meridian, an upscale restaurant far from TechVantage's headquarters. As the CEO of Apex Systems, TechVantage's largest competitor, Jonathan knew the value of discretion. He had reserved a private dining alcove in the back, shielded from curious eyes by elegant Japanese screens. They actually did it, Jonathan said, shaking his head after we ordered. I suspected they might, but cutting the person who developed their core technology. Marcus never understood what I actually created, I replied, sipping my water. He saw the implementation, the user interface, the marketing potential, but the underlying architecture. That was just tech stuff to him. The irony was almost too perfect. 3 months ago, I had discovered that the patent application for my distributed processing algorithm had never been filed by TechVantage's legal team. They claimed it was an oversight when I inquired. They assured me they'd handle it immediately. But something about their response had seemed off. So, I checked the company's internal records. That's when I found it. A strategy memo outlining plans to claim the algorithm as company-developed technology, without specific inventor attribution. They had planned to push me out before securing the patent, knowing that intellectual property developed by employees typically belongs to the company. What TechVantage didn't know was that I had already been working on refinements to the algorithm on my own time, using my personal equipment. Those improvements, boosting processing efficiency by an impressive 43%, weren't covered by my employment agreement. Quietly, I had filed for a patent under my own name last month, complete with timestamps and development logs proving the work was done outside of company time. The patent had been granted with remarkable speed, thanks to Jonathan's introduction to a top-tier IP attorney. All the paperwork is finalized, Jonathan said now, sliding a folder across the table. As soon as you sign, Apex Systems officially acquires exclusive licensing rights to your patent. The press release goes out Monday morning, announcing you as our new Chief Innovation Officer. I reviewed the documents carefully, though I had already memorized the key terms: a 7-figure signing bonus, substantial equity in Apex Systems, and ongoing royalties from all products using my algorithm. What do you think Marcus's face will look like when he realizes what's happened? Jonathan asked, unable to hide his satisfaction at the prospect. I'm more concerned about my team, I admitted. They don't deserve to be caught in the fallout. Jonathan nodded. Already addressed. We have positions for all 6 of them if they're interested. Senior roles with significant raises. With one elegant move, I signed the final page and closed the folder. My future was secured. My team was protected. My work was finally receiving the recognition it deserved. To new beginnings, Jonathan said, raising his glass. And to owning your own value, I added, clinking my glass against his. Thursday and Friday passed in a blur of exit interviews, knowledge transfer, meetings, and goodbyes. I maintained my professional composure throughout, even as rumors spread across the company. Administrative assistants gave me sympathetic glances in the hallways. Junior developers approached awkwardly, asking if I'd provide LinkedIn recommendations. I documented everything meticulously, every project, every password, every process. I knew full well that TechVantage would soon discover just how thorough they needed me to be. My decision to leave comprehensive transition notes wasn't out of kindness. It was evidence. Evidence that I had acted in good faith, while the company had not. During my final exit interview on Friday afternoon, Denise from HR went through the standard checklist with mechanical efficiency. You understand that any intellectual property developed during your employment remains the property of TechVantage, she stated, pushing a non-disclosure agreement across the table. Of course, I replied pleasantly. Anything developed within the scope of my employment, using company resources during company time. I emphasized those qualifiers slightly, but Denise was too busy checking boxes to notice. And you affirm that you have no copies of proprietary company information. I have taken nothing that belongs to TechVantage. I confirmed truthfully. The patent was mine, after all. As I packed the personal items from my desk, family photos, a collection of conference badges marking 15 years of industry events, and the coffee mug my team had given me last Christmas, Marjorie appeared. She leaned casually against my doorframe, though the calculated glint in her eyes gave her away. I just wanted to check that everything's clear for your departure, she said, watching me place the last items into a cardboard box. Crystal clear, I replied, wrapping a small smile around my words. The award I had received for the very algorithm now at the center of my plans gleamed under the soft light. The irony wasn't lost on me as I carefully placed it between layers of tissue paper. You know, Sophia, these restructuring decisions are never personal, Marjorie Carter continued. Victor believes the company needs to move in a more youthful direction. I looked up and met her gaze directly. I understand completely. Business is business. Something in my tone made her pause. For a brief moment, uncertainty flickered across her face, but she quickly dismissed it. After all, what could a soon-to-be unemployed 52-year-old woman possibly do? Will you be taking some time off? She asked, her voice carrying an artificial note of concern. Actually, I already have something lined up, I replied. I start Monday. Surprise crossed her features. That's fast. Anything interesting? I smiled. Very. A leadership position. I'm quite excited about it. She nodded absently, already mentally moving on to other matters. Well, good luck with that. As I walked out of TechVantage's glass headquarters for the final time, keycard surrendered and personal belongings in tow, I paused. I looked back at the building where I had spent 15 years of my career. On the top floor, I could see the executive conference room lit up for an evening meeting. They were likely discussing how to redistribute my responsibilities among younger, less experienced and significantly less expensive staff. Little did they know that in less than 72 hours, that same room would be hosting an emergency crisis meeting instead. Monday morning dawned bright and clear. I dressed carefully in my new charcoal suit, a power outfit I had purchased specifically for this day. The Apex Systems town car arrived precisely at 7:30 a.m. to take me to their headquarters, where I would start my first day as Chief Innovation Officer. The press release went live at 7 a.m. Jonathan informed me as I settled into my new corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Industry newsletters are already picking it up. I've got the communications team monitoring reactions. The announcement had been crafted with strategic precision. Apex Systems acquires exclusive rights to revolutionary processing algorithm, welcomes creator Dr. Sophia Reynolds as Chief Innovation Officer. It detailed my background, emphasized my role as the sole inventor of the patented technology, and outlined how Apex Systems would be integrating the algorithm into their next generation of products. Most importantly, it clearly stated that any company currently using the technology would need to negotiate licensing agreements with Apex Systems moving forward. At precisely 9:15 a.m., my phone lit up with the first text from my former team at TechVantage. Complete chaos here. What did you do? It was from Miguel Ramirez, my lead developer. I smiled, typing back, check your personal email. All 6 of you have offers waiting. Meanwhile, 8 miles away at TechVantage headquarters, the scheduled Monday morning executive meeting had undergone a dramatic transformation according to Miguel's play-by-play updates throughout the morning. Victor had arrived at the office to find the company's general counsel and chief financial officer waiting at his door. Both had grim expressions. The industry announcement had hit their inboxes simultaneously, setting off immediate alarms. By 9:30 a.m., what should have been a routine start-of-week meeting had morphed into an emergency crisis session. Board members were calling in remotely, the legal team was frantically reviewing my employment contract and all documentation related to the algorithm's development. They're pulling every file with your name on it, Miguel reported. Someone just wheeled in all the servers from the research division for the tech team to analyze. I could picture it perfectly. Marcus Reynolds pacing the conference room, demanding explanations from Marjorie and the legal department. The stock market would already be reacting to the news. Investors hated uncertainty, and today's announcement had created plenty of it. At 10:45 a.m., an email from Marcus appeared in my inbox. The desperation practically radiated from the screen. Sophia, there appears to be a misunderstanding. Please call me at your earliest convenience to discuss. Without responding, I forwarded it to Apex Systems' legal team. By noon, the industry was buzzing with speculation. TechVantage's stock had dropped 7% since the market opened, while Apex Systems enjoyed a 12% increase. 3 major technology journals had already requested interviews with me about the strategic coup that had shaken the accounting software industry. How are you feeling? Jonathan asked, stopping by my office as I settled in. Validated, I replied honestly. 15 years of watching others take credit for my work. 15 years of being told I should be grateful just to have a seat at the table, and now, finally, recognition. My new executive assistant appeared at the door. Dr. Reynolds, the development team is ready for you in the main conference room, and... She hesitated. TechVantage's CEO has called 4 times in the last hour. Please let him know I'm in meetings all day, I replied calmly. Our legal team will reach out to discuss licensing options later this week. As I walked toward my first meeting as Chief Innovation Officer, my phone buzzed with another update from Miguel. Board just called an emergency session. Marcus looks like he's about to explode. P.S. My team and I accept your offer. When can we start? By Tuesday morning, the full impact of my departure had become clear to everyone at TechVantage. Their flagship product, AccuSphere, relied entirely on my algorithm to process the massive datasets that gave it an edge over competitors. Without licensing rights to my patent, they faced 2 equally unappealing options: negotiate with Apex Systems or rebuild their core technology from scratch, a process that would take years and cost millions. Victor has called an all-hands meeting for 2 p.m., Miguel texted. It's my last day here. The team and I will see you Monday at Apex. Rumor is they're going to try to sue you. I forwarded his message to our legal department. The response came almost immediately. Let them try. Your documentation is impeccable. Development logs, timestamps, personal equipment usage, all clearly established. We're prepared for this. Meanwhile, I was settling into my new role at Apex Systems with remarkable ease. The respect I received here was a stark contrast to my final years at TechVantage. When I spoke in meetings, people actually listened. My ideas weren't repackaged by male colleagues and presented as their own. My age and experience were seen as assets, not liabilities. The engineering team is implementing your efficiency improvements, Jonathan informed me during our afternoon briefing. Early testing shows a 51% performance boost, better than we projected. I had several refinements I never shared with TechVantage, I admitted. After I discovered they were planning to eliminate my position, I saw no reason to give them my best work. Their loss. Our gain, Jonathan replied with a satisfied smile. Speaking of which, the first licensing inquiry came in this morning. Not from TechVantage, they're still in denial, but from Data Flow Systems. They're worried about being caught in the crossfire. At 3:30 p.m., Miguel sent a detailed account of Marcus's all-hands meeting. Marcus tried to project confidence, assuring the staff that TechVantage would vigorously defend our proprietary technology. But the anxiety in the room was palpable. Employees had already updated their LinkedIn profiles, sensing the company's vulnerability. Marjorie looked like she was about to faint when someone directly asked if they had failed to secure the patent. Victor cut the question period short after that, Miguel reported. By Wednesday, the industry fallout had intensified. 2 major clients had contacted Apex Systems about switching from Accusphere, expressing concerns about TechVantage's ability to maintain the product without the algorithm's creator. Apex's stock had risen another 8%, while TechVantage's continued its sharp decline. That afternoon, I received a call from Denise Carter in HR, the same woman who had slid my severance package across the table just days earlier. Sophia, she began, her voice carefully professional. I'm calling to discuss the, situation with your patent. We believe there may have been a misunderstanding about ownership rights. I don't think there's any misunderstanding, I replied calmly. My employment agreement clearly states that intellectual property developed on my own time, using my own resources, remains mine. The patent documentation confirms exactly that. There was a pause. Victor was hoping you might consider coming in to discuss options. Any discussions would need to go through Apex Systems' legal department now, I responded. I'm sure they'd be happy to set up a meeting to discuss licensing terms. The silence on the other end spoke volumes. Finally, Denise sighed. I'll pass that along. That afternoon, I led my first formal presentation to Apex Systems' board of directors, outlining our technology roadmap with my algorithm at its center. As I stood confidently at the head of the table, not hidden in the back as I had been at TechVantage, I caught Jonathan's approving nod. By Friday, just 1 week after I had walked out of TechVantage for the last time, the company had entered full crisis mode. Their stock had fallen 23% from Monday's opening bell, triggering concerned calls from major investors. Industry analysts were publishing speculative pieces with titles like, "Can TechVantage survive the algorithm crisis?" and how one strategic blunder may cost a tech giant everything. Through my industry contacts, I learned that Marcus had finally acknowledged the severity of the situation to the board. TechVantage would have to choose between 2 equally painful options: license my algorithm from Apex Systems, likely at exorbitant rates that would devastate their profit margins, or undertake a complete rebuild of Accusphere without using any technology covered by my patent. They've started interviewing for a new development team, Miguel informed me during our Friday video call, where we discussed his upcoming transition to Apex. Victor's claiming they can recreate the functionality in 6 months. I couldn't help but laugh. The original algorithm took me 3 years to perfect, and that was with intimate knowledge of the problem space. Exactly, Miguel agreed. Nobody's believing the timeline, especially after your team posted their resignation letters simultaneously. The knowledge drain is massive. That afternoon, TechVantage's attorneys finally reached out to Apex Systems to open a dialogue about potential licensing arrangements. Our legal team, following the strategy we had developed, responded with terms that were technically fair but strategically painful. 3 times the standard industry licensing rate, plus a public acknowledgement of my role as the technology's inventor. They'll balk at the acknowledgement more than the cost, Jonathan predicted as we reviewed the response in his office. Victor's ego won't allow him to admit he pushed out the person who created their core technology. Then they'll have to rebuild, I replied with a smile. And every day they spend trying to replicate my work is another day we extend our lead in the market. The following Monday morning, 10 days after my unceremonious dismissal, I led the first meeting with my newly assembled innovation team. The group included Miguel and the other 5 engineers from TechVantage. The energy in the room was electric as we mapped out the next evolution of my algorithm. "This is how development meetings should be," commented Anita Patel, one of my former team members at TechVantage. "We used to spend half our time explaining basic concepts to executives who wouldn't listen anyway." "That's the difference between being valued and being seen as replaceable," I replied. "Here, your expertise is recognized." As we wrapped up the productive session, my assistant appeared at the door. "Dr. Reynolds, there's been a significant development with TechVantage. Their board just announced an emergency leadership change. Marcus Reynolds is stepping down effective immediately." The news spread quickly. Within hours, industry publications were reporting that TechVantage's board had lost confidence in Marcus's leadership, following the patent oversight that threatened the company's flagship product. Marjorie Carter was also out, along with the head of legal who had failed to secure the patent properly. That evening, I received an unexpected email from Richard Donovan, TechVantage's newly appointed interim CEO. Unlike Marcus's desperate message from the previous week, this one was straightforward and respectful. Subject: discussion of licensing agreement. "Dr. Reynolds, congratulations on your new position. I've been brought in to help TechVantage navigate the current situation. I'd like to discuss a fair licensing arrangement for your patented technology. We're prepared to acknowledge your contributions publicly and make appropriate amends for the oversights of previous management. Would you be available to meet next week? Best regards, Richard Donovan, interim CEO, TechVantage." I forwarded the email to Jonathan with a simple note: "Phase 1 complete." His reply came quickly: "Beautifully executed. The board is celebrating your first major victory for Apex Systems. Looks like TechVantage is finally learning an expensive lesson about valuing innovation and innovators." 3 months after my departure from TechVantage, I sat on the stage at the National Technology Innovation Conference preparing to deliver the keynote address. The audience was filled with industry leaders, technology journalists, and aspiring developers, many of whom now knew my story. "And now, I'm pleased to introduce our keynote speaker," the conference organizer announced. "Dr. Sophia Reynolds, Chief Innovation Officer at Apex Systems and creator of the distributed processing algorithm that has revolutionized data handling across multiple industries." The applause was substantial as I approached the podium. What a difference a few months could make. Last year, I had attended the same conference as part of the TechVantage delegation, seated in the back, while Marcus delivered a presentation about his company's innovations. "Thank you," I began, surveying the attentive faces. "Today, I want to talk about innovation, ownership, and the importance of properly valuing intellectual contributions regardless of where they come from." My presentation detailed the technical aspects of my algorithm, but also addressed broader issues of recognition and respect in the technology sector. Without directly mentioning TechVantage, I emphasized the need for companies to protect their innovators rather than treating them as replaceable resources. Afterward, during the reception, several young women engineers approached me, seeking advice and mentorship. One of them, barely 30, confided, "Your story changed how I document my work. I started keeping detailed logs of my development process on personal time." "Smart," I replied with a smile. "Your innovations deserve protection." As the evening concluded, I checked my phone and found an industry news alert. TechVantage had finally announced the licensing agreement with Apex Systems, acknowledging me by name as the creator of the algorithm. Their stock had stabilized, though at a significantly lower valuation than before my departure. 1 year to the day after being told to clean out my desk, I sat in my spacious office at Apex Systems reviewing the quarterly innovation report. Under my leadership, the company had released 3 groundbreaking products built on my algorithm, capturing significant market share from TechVantage and other competitors. A knock at my door interrupted my analysis. It was Jonathan, holding a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "Happy anniversary," he said, setting the glasses on my desk. "The board asked me to share the news with you personally before the public announcement. Apex Systems has officially surpassed TechVantage in market valuation for the first time in company history." I smiled, feeling not triumph but a quiet satisfaction. That's what happens when you value innovation properly. As Jonathan poured the champagne, my assistant arrived with a sleek envelope. Inside was an invitation to speak at Women in Technology's annual leadership summit. The topic, owning your intellectual value, how proper documentation changed an industry. "You've become something of an icon, you know," Jonathan commented, glancing at the invitation. The story about the executive who didn't recognize what she had until it was gone has become a cautionary tale in corporate boardrooms. Richard Donovan, who had remained as TechVantage's CEO after the crisis, had implemented sweeping changes in how the company recognized and rewarded innovation. Their new policies on intellectual property protection and inventor recognition were reportedly modeled after the program I had established at Apex Systems. "It was never about revenge," I said, raising my glass in a toast. "It was about recognition, about showing the industry that innovation isn't anonymous. It comes from real people who deserve real credit." "To proper recognition," Jonathan agreed, clinking his glass against mine. As the afternoon sun streamed through my office windows, I reflected on my journey. At 56, I had finally found what had eluded me throughout my career, not just success, but acknowledgement. My name was now permanently attached to the algorithm that had changed an industry, exactly where it belonged. Thank you for listening to my story. If there's one piece of advice I would leave you with, it's this: know your worth and protect it fiercely. In today's fast-moving world, innovation is everywhere, but recognition isn't always guaranteed. Document your work, safeguard your ideas, and never underestimate the value of your contributions. Companies may come and go, leadership may change, but your skills, knowledge, and creativity belong to you. Don't let anyone diminish your role in the work you create. Advocate for yourself when necessary, and surround yourself with people who see your value. Success isn't just about climbing the ladder, it's about making sure your name is attached to the steps you build along the way. Opportunities will come, but the respect you command comes from how you stand for yourself. Good luck on your journey. May you find both success and the recognition you truly deserve.